Hello, everyone. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. And we're gonna get into some more of um Game of Leo. We're gonna start with chapter 3.
To the curve as a purple Audi Q8, with music blaring loudly, and the windows rolled up, pulls up. The vehicle slowly pulled to a stop directly in front of him, and the window rolls down. As the window rolled down, the music blared even louder with a bubbly voice, saying, "Hi, are you Leo?" Leo responds with, "Yes, I am." He reaches for the door handle and opens the door to get in the vehicle. As he sits inside the vehicle, the bubbly voice says to him with a giggle, "Hi, I'm Cammy, your rideshare operator today, and I will be taking you wherever you need to go." Leo responds, "All right, Cammy, I need you to take me to Stoner Games." Cammy responds, "Stoner Games? Are you a gamer?" Leo says, "Yes, yes, I am, but I also work there." Cammy looks at him, giggles, and says to him, "All righty, let us be on our way." She turns her head straight, puts her hand on the gear shift, puts the car in drive, and then pulls off. Leo asked, "So do you usually ride around driving for pickup?" Cammy responds, "No, not really. You were actually my very first pickup that I've ever had with this particular rideshare company." Leo chuckles and then says, "Really? So are you new to Chester?" Cammy responds, "Well, I have been here before, but I've never really been that interested in traveling too much into small towns." They both laughed a little. Then Leo says, "I noticed you enjoy blaring your music." As Cammy was about to respond, her favorite song began playing throughout her radio. Cammy excitedly yells, "Ah! Oh my goodness, that's my favorite song." The song is Jennifer Lopez, "Let's Get Loud." She cranks the volume higher and starts belting out the lyrics of the song. "Let's get loud, let's get loud. Turn the music up, let's do it. Come on, people, let's get loud, let's get loud." Turn the music up to hear that sound. Leo sits feeling the entire vehicle shake from the bass that's pretty much surrounding him, making him feel as if he was in a club. At some point, he wonders if the dome light is going to become like a strobe light, with all sorts of colors, while watching Cammy drive and dance as well as singing while she's driving. He wondered to himself, as hard she is dancing, are we truly safe on this road? Leo ends up asking out loud to her, "Is it possible that we can turn it down just a teeny bit?" Cammy responds a little embarrassedly, "Oops, sorry, I got a little carried away." She giggles and says, "No worries. I will definitely get you there safely." She turns down the music a little and continues driving while singing with the radio. About 5 minutes later, they pull up in front of Stoner Game Store. She stops the car, looks at Leo and says, "Well, I hope you enjoyed riding with me today, and if so, please give me a nice rating." Leo looks at her and chuckles a little and says to her, "No problem. I would definitely give you a very high rating." Cammy giggles and says, "Whoop whoop, now that's what I'm talking about. If you need a ride, you don't necessarily have to contact pickup because you can call me directly. Here is my card." Leo pockets the card, gives her a nod, and gets out of the SUV. As he walks to the front door of Stoner Games, a laid-back bro-type voice says, "Welcome to Stoner Games. Is there something I might be able to help you with?" Leo looks over at the counter and sees one of his best friends, Richard Cooley. He says to him, "Hey Richie, what are you doing?" Trying to sound like Ed from Good Burger. Then Leo says in a silly imitating voice, "Welcome to the Good Burger, home of the Good Burger. Can I take your order?" They both burst into laughter. Then, Richard says in his natural New Jersey accent, "Hey man, what are you doing here so early? Don't you get off of school in like an hour?" Leo responds, "I was let out early for some different reasons, but I'm supposed to start work in like an hour and a half. But I wanted to know if the game I've been waiting to come out has finally come in." Richard responded with, "What game are you talking about?" Leo says, "Immortal Instinct. I've been waiting for that game to release for a while." Richard shakes his head, cringes, and responds to Leo with, "Don't know, man. Why would you want to waste your money on that flop of a game? I heard that nobody really wants to buy it." Leo shrugs his shoulders and replies, "Well, not every game is for everybody, but I have definitely been waiting for this game for a hot minute. Richard shakes his head, then says sarcastically, "It looks like it might be your lucky day because not only do we have the game in, but we were the lucky store to get the one and only special edition, called the All Out Edition, with a gold ring armband that connects through VR." Leo responds excitedly, "Oh, hell yeah, man, go ahead and ring that up for me. Not just now, but right now." Richard looks at Leo and says sarcastically, "No problem, sir. I will ring it up this very second, so you won't have to hold on any longer." They both chuckle. Richard hands the game to Leo, and Leo pays using his discount. Richard asks, "So why hasn't Mr. Bossman made you an assistant manager, or even the manager of this particular store yet?" Leo responds, "Well, I don't know, but the only thing I actually do know is I just want to make any customer's experience here become the best possible, so they become forever gamers." As Richard hands over the game to Leo, Leo walks to the back of the store and places the game into his bag. Once he turned around, the game box began glowing a golden color, but only for a very brief moment. About 2 hours later, while Leo and Richard were working their shift, an angry and annoying voice yelled through the door, "Well, well, well, so this is where the biggest loser ran off to after school. I looked around for over 30 minutes looking for you so that I can get my hands on you." As the voice came closer, walking through the door was none other than Chris Twerk and 3 of his lackeys. Leo, looking annoyed, stated, "Welcome to Stoner Games. How may I assist you today, sir?" Chris snared and looked around the store, then back at Leo, saying, "You hid here to get away from me and the beat down that I was going to give you. So instead of me being able to give it to you then, let me go ahead and give it to you now." Leo responded with, "Chris, if you didn't know, we here at Stoner Games have cameras with full audio. Therefore, if you put your hands on me or anyone in the store, you will be prosecuted to the full extent of the law." Chris shrugs his shoulders, began laughing heartily, and says, "I don't care if you have cameras, if you have the best audio sound equipment here, if you had 16K quality screens that receive signal from satellites, or even if you had a superhero like All Might from My Hero Academia here. Nobody can save you or this store from what's about to happen." Leo looks at his expression and said, "Don't do anything dumb." "Yeah, man, don't do anything dumb," said Richard. Leo continued, "As soon as he tries to do something dumb, call the cops." Chris continues laughing and then says to his lackeys, "Down all the posters, push over all the shelves, destroy all the cardboard cutouts, because I want this place completely destroyed, and I want to cost you, Leo, everything." Chris's lackeys began destroying everything they could get near and menacing any customers that were in the store. Leo looked back at Richard in horror and yelled, "Call the police and call our boss man now." 15 minutes later, the store is in complete and utter disarray, as if a tornado ripped through the very center of the store, while Chris laughs very menacingly, saying, "I told you, you're next, and I'm going to destroy your entire life." Leo frustratingly gritted his teeth and said, "Chris, you didn't have to do any of this. Now you're the one who's going to have to suffer whatever consequences that come behind these actions of doing this to the store." Chris turns around, walks away laughing, and says, "Yeah, right. Nothing will happen to me, and we both know it. Come on, boys. Let's get out of here." 5 minutes passed, and a heavy-set older male who's breathing very hard and panting runs through the doorway and says, "What the hell happened to my store? Who in the hell did this? Leo, why didn't you stop this from happening?" Leo lowered his head with a saddened expression and mumbled, "Sir, I did what I could. I tried to stop them, and I even told Richie to call the cops." The sir that Leo was referring to was his boss, Marty Stoner. Marty replied angrily, yelling, "Where in the hell are the cops, and who did it?" Leo responded meekly, "Sir, it was a guy by the name Chris Twerk. He and his buddies did this to the store, and in all honesty, they came looking for me." Marty looked at him with rage in his eyes and said, "They came looking for you, so why did you even come in today? You know what? I am going to do something about them in due time, but right now, I'm going to do something about you. Leo, you are fired, and you are no longer welcome to ever step foot in Stoner Games again." Leo raises his head, shockingly saying, "But Mr. Stoner, I did everything I could to stop them from doing anything. I really, Marty cuts him off in mid-sentence, telling him, "I want you out of my store and to never come back." As Leo goes to the back and grabs his bag, two police officers walk in, look around the store, and ask, "Is the owner here?" Marty looks at the officers and says, "I am the owner, and I want to press charges on the people who did this to my store. But first, what I would like you to do is to trespass this person right off this property." The two officers look at Leo, walk beside him, and one of the officers says, "All right, son, you heard what the man said. Come with us." Leo is escorted out of Stoner Games by the two officers. He looks back towards Richard and his now ex-boss sadly. He watches Richard quietly mouth something, but couldn't make it out because, of course, he couldn't see it well. But he kind of had a clue of what Richard was saying, while his ex-boss Marty stared daggers at him and gritted his teeth angrily, saying, "Leo, I trusted you, thought that you would be a great asset to this establishment. But even I can be wrong sometimes, and I definitely regret ever letting you step foot in this business at all. I don't ever want to see you again. I don't want you near my business nor my person, and I definitely don't want you near anything that belongs to me. Don't you ever come back here." Leo returns his head forward and mutters under his breath, "Can't believe that pickle-smelling Dr. Evil-headed butt-a-face weasel did this to me. And on top of that, he's not even receiving any form of consequences for his actions for pretty much destroying the store." The three exited Stoner Games, but as soon as they got on the sidewalk, the first officer said to Leo, "Well, son, I'm going to need an identification card from you so that I can go ahead and trespass you away from Stoner Games property. And please understand, if you step foot back into that store, you will not receive a warning, you will not receive a slap on the wrist, but you will be taken fully into custody, arrested and prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Do I make myself clear?" Leo responds, "Yes, sir, I fully understand." Then the first officer asked in a much softer tone, "You have a ride home, son?" Leo said, first quietly to himself, "I'm not your son," but ended up saying loudly right afterward, "No, sir, I don't have a ride home." The second officer said, "Well, if you don't mind actually riding in the back seat, then we can escort you home." Leo replied calmly, "Yes, sir, and I thank you for the offer." The three get inside the officer's vehicle and ride off in the direction of Leo's home. 20 minutes later, they pull up in front of an old school neighborhood with very old houses. They stop at the end of the block per request and informed him once again not to step foot on the premises of Stoner Games. Leo waits for the second officer, who is in the front passenger seat of the police car, gets out of the car and lets him out. He nods his head to both officers and says, "All right, Mr. Officers, you will not have to worry about me stepping foot near or on Stoner Games again. I will make sure not to cause any trouble. Therefore, you will not have to worry about receiving any other forms of reprimand or some form of punishment." They look at Leo, nod their heads, and the first officer in an authoritative tone stated, "You better not and have a nice day." Leo turns away from the police car and begins walking down the block towards his home. About halfway down the block, he hears the same familiar, annoying, aggravating, angered voice comes from the left side of him saying, "Well, well, well, seeing you 3 times in one day and getting to cost you as much trouble as possible." Leo turns his head to the left and sees Chris, his 3 lackeys, and his new ex, and apparently Chris's new girlfriend, Hannah, all approaching him. Chris sneers at Leo and yells at his 3 lackeys to surround Leo. The 3 quickly run to maneuver themselves around him so that they can cut off any form of an escape that he would potentially have of getting away from Chris. Chris continues slowly approaching, first with a sneer, but then slowly and softly, stumbling into a menacing and awkward chuckle. And once he got 3 feet from Leo, he says, "You lost her, and I took your girlfriend. I cost you your job, and now I'm going to beat you down." Leo looks at him menacingly, gritted his teeth, and responded with, "You may have caused me my job. You may have taken what apparently truly wasn't mine in the first place, in that, well, should I say that thing? But if you think that I will go down without a fight, you have another thing coming." And before Leo finished what he was saying, he swung a fist very quickly and connected with Chris's nose, causing an awkward but loud crunch sound to happen, and blood to spread out and a gush. Chris falls back on his butt from the impact to his nose, shouts out in pain, then yells, "Don't just sit there, punish him, crush him, beat him down." As Leo began to step forward, he gets struck in the back of the head by lackey number 2, knocking him down to the ground and receiving multiple punches and kicks from all three. As the three of them beat him for a full 2 minutes, they only stop when Chris finally makes it to his feet and walks over to Leo. One hand holding his nose to try to slow down the blood flow, and the other hand balled into a fist to punch Leo. He yells at the three lackeys, telling them, "Pick him up and hold him really good," as they pick him up and hold him. Chris first punches him multiple times in his gut, then has one of his lackeys pulls Leo's head back by his hair and punch him in the face multiple times. After feeling satisfied from beating down Leo, Chris sneers while still holding his nose in pain and says to Leo angrily, "I told you I was going to beat you down. I told you I was going to destroy you, and don't worry, there's more to come in the very near future. You just wait." Then he says, "Come on, everyone. Let's get out of here." Hannah looks at Chris worriedly and says, "My Chrissy Poo, are you going to be all right? We need to get you to a doctor to get your nose checked out, because barbarians like that savage little loser deserve what he got, and I hope that you eventually give him more of the same much sooner than later." Then she looks at Leo with hatred, and her eyes in anger and malice in her voice, and yells, "You dumb loser of a sucker! I should never have wasted any of my time with you. Truth be told, you don't deserve me. You don't deserve anybody to love you, because I know I didn't. I just wanted you to spoil me so that I can take away from you and your happiness. But I'm glad dealing with a loser like you led me to a real man, and always that count. That's exactly why I never let you touch me. I never let you hold my hand, I never let you hug me, and I definitely never let you kiss me or do anything with me. The thought is repulsing, and I hope that what happened to you tonight really is the true beginning of whatever punishment is to come for you." After Hannah said everything she felt she needed to say to Leo, she spat at him while he was on the ground, turned her back, grabbed hold of Chris, and all five walked off. About a minute later, Leo sat up in pain from all the punches and kicks and all the bruises, slowly picked himself up and said out loud to himself sarcastically, "Well, that could have went much better." Then dragged himself to grab his bag and slowly made his way home. He walked up the stairs to the front door, opened it, walked in. Once he made his way through the threshold of the door, he looked around and saw that no one but him was home. He shook his head, made his way slowly to his room, went to the bathroom, and began cleaning himself up with iodine, alcohol, and some cotton swab pads. Once he cleaned himself up, patching up his bruises, he jumped in the shower and washed himself off. Got out the shower, looked in the mirror, and reprimanded himself, saying, "Leo, you damn fool! Why would you ever trust that little scatterbox in the first place? You were warned by one of your best friends, Shelley, but you never truly listened to what she said, and this is the end result." He turns away from the mirror, leaves the bathroom, and walks to his room. He walks into his room, grabs his bag, and pulls out and opens his newly bought game. He looks at the cover, which reads, "Immortal Instinct," under nice big bright lettering. It was a small but very fancy piece of writing, saying the All Out Edition. Opens the packaging and pulls out the description guide and quickly skims over it. He pulls out the disc, and right behind where the disc is placed, a golden ring-shaped armband was placed. He pulls it out, stares at it for a moment, then decides it's time to play. He puts the game within the system, puts the VR headset and gloves on his person, then slides on the golden ring armband. But as he does so and hit the on switch, a scrape from his scuffle earlier trickled some blood onto the golden armband, making it glow a very bright golden shine, and merge into his arm, first bringing a slow but squeezing ache, then a datingly painful squeeze to the area where the gold ring armband was located, making him shout out loud in so much pain that he almost passes out. Then, all of a sudden, all the pain stops, and the golden ring armband disappears. He looks around, not seeing that it was anywhere near him, but feeling as if it was still on him. He then realizes that the whole thing seemed to happen and tells himself, that was freaking weird. Then all of a sudden, before he gets to flip the switch of his VR gear on, the entire room goes black. He opens his eyes and realizes that he's no longer in his room. He is officially standing in a gold and white space, with nothing but the entire room just looking pure white, and he is shining with a gold hue. And in his mind, a female voice says, "Welcome to the all-out system. Your new beginning starts here." Leo, with wide eyes almost the size of dinner plates, stares around the white open space, feeling completely nervous and wondering to himself in a frightened, yelling tone, "Where in the hell am I? Is this a part of the game? Who in the hell's voice was that I heard speaking to me?" Then he yells out loud, "Is there somebody else here?" The female voice, in a mechanical sense, giggled and stated, "I am the all-out system, and we have completely merged together." Leo responded panickedly, "What the hell do you mean we've merged together? I don't remember merging with anything. As a matter of fact, I have never even got to touch a girl before. Well, unless you count getting to brush up against my best friend's arm and that thing Han once or maybe twice." After saying it out loud, Leo realizes that he just truly embarrassed himself and started blushing crimson. Then he says bashfully to himself, "Why would I even say that out loud? Goodness, 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 maybe I should just lay down and see if I'm asleep or something, and if I'm not, maybe I could just curl up in a ball and just die of embarrassment." The system replied in a soothing mechanical voice, "No worries. When I say we have merged together, I mean that all of my functions and abilities are now assigned to you." Leo said with panic in his voice replied, "When, where, how, exactly in the hell did this happen?" The system responded with a mechanical voice, "The golden ring armband that you put onto your right arm was the way that we merged together. So now I am officially your system." Leo, startled, thinks to himself, "Did I die and just isekai into this weird world or something? Or did I fall into some form of a weird alternate universe? Or wait, maybe. I have just ended up in a weird comical animated style novel for kicks and giggles." Leo asks out loud once he calmed down some, "Now I have to really get my bearings. I guess I need to get to a reality check, correct?" The system responds, "Correct." Leo then asked, "So you're telling me that I officially have my own system that I can name, change voice styles to suit my preference, and will allow me to ask any questions that I truly want without restrictions?" The system replies, "Yes." Leo then skeptically asked, "You're not going to try and all of a sudden give me some impossible tasks that if I can't pass that I'll be penalized for some awkward reason or another? Are you?" The system replies, "No, I won't." Then Leo asks a little more calmly, "So it's not going to at some point tell me that I have some not authorized, until I reach a particular level style of comment, to hit me when it comes to having functionalities?" The system replies, "Well, there is a leveling system that we must abide by. But once you do hit all levels, you will definitely have full functionality to do and ask whatever you need and want." Leo then responds, somewhat exasperated, "Oh man, I knew it, but you know what? That's doable." Then he asked, "Will I also be able to see or have some form of an image of you within my brain or individual world?" The system says, "Yes. And something I do need to inform you of is that I will not only work in just the virtual world. I am your system that works in both your real life and in the virtual world." Leo, startled, smiles and says excitedly, "This is truly a new beginning for me, and this is truly everything I was hoping for. So, system, shall we get started on getting me to understand how everything works?" The system, in a mechanical, giggling female voice, says, "Yes, we shall get started. But before that, would you like to name me?" Leo chuckles and ends up doing a little dance, then says, "Yes, let me go ahead and name you now. How about the name Leela?" The system pauses for a moment and then responds, "Name registered. Will now respond to the name Leela." Then Leo gently says, "Is it possible to give you more of a realistic voice instead of a mechanical one?" Leela says, "Yes, you can." Leo then responds happily, "Would like your voice pattern to be more realistic, and that of the personality of the girl next door." Leela responds, and her new vocal pattern of the girl next door, new voice, pattern of realism and personality of the girl next door has been registered and accepted. Leo almost jumps out of his shoes in excitement. Then he asks, Is it possible that you can have an avatar within my mind? Therefore, I at least have something to look at when I speak to you, and you respond back to me? Leela responds, yes, it is possible. And would you like me to design one with the traits of the girl next door? Leo nods hurriedly, saying, yes, 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 oh yes. Leela responds, generating. A few moments later, an avatar appears in Leo's mind, and he chuckles excitedly. Leela then said in a giddy girl next door voice, quote, are you ready to learn everything about your stats, your skills, all attributes and learned abilities, as well as what you are able to eventually get into? What's known as the all-out store? Leo opens his eyes in a surprising expression and said, I'm definitely ready. Leela then says, all right, so let me give you the breakdown. Starting with your stats for the fact that you are legally blind, we had to base within your mind. Leo cuts her off and asks, wait, who is we? Leela states, when I say we, I mean the system as a whole, because I am not a physical being. Therefore, I am an AI system, so I will be no more under that moniker. Leo looked as if lightning just struck within his mind and said, okay, I get it now. Leela giggles, then she continues. As far as your stats go, you start pretty much everything at level 1. Leo stares off in space with a confused look on his face and says, what is everything? Leela responds, your attributes all are set to the number 10, which puts you at level 1, where most average individuals start off at that particular number. Now, if you were an athlete, some of those attributes would be higher, such as your endurance, your agility, your strength, your intelligence, your charm, and your luck. Now, as far as your abilities go, because of your visual impairment, all of your other senses are heightened to around level 2 already. However, you were given an ability to help you as far as your sight goes. Leo gives a curious expression. Leela continues, the ability that was given to you is called inner sight. Now, with inner sight, it gives you the ability of being able to see an exact replica of not only the real world, but any world that you are in, from all the way to a satellite visual, all the way to as if you were standing directly in front of a person, or even being able to see, in your case for right now. Would it be at level 1, which would be up to 10 miles? You also have the ability of Sata sight, what's known as sub-abilities. The view of the inner world is one of them. You also have foresight, where you're able to predict a person's moves up to 1 whole minute before it truly occurs, dragon sight. Leo asks her to halt for a moment and ask. Leela now rolls her eyes at him a little exasperated, then asks, would you like me to continue? Leo responds a little embarrassedly with a chuckle. About that, please continue. Leela's avatar smirks and continues with, dragon sight is where an individual is able to see auras. You will also have the sub-abilities of appraisal, the sight of essence, and last but not least, the sight of truth. And just before you ask, the sight of truth and the sight of essence are where you are able to see through anyone's lies, no matter what kind of lie may be told, and you are able to grasp the different essence throughout the multiple environment you may encounter. She continues, as far as skills go, whatever skills you may learn can be enhanced and advanced. You will have what's known as breakdown, where anything you touch can pretty much be broken down and potentially turned into an ability, and I mean almost anything. Once you touch it, it will give you an indication of whether it can be broken down or not. And before you ask, yes, even bodies can be done the same. You will also have what's known as comprehend, where you're able to gain comprehension of any and all information, no matter what language, barrier, or anything of the sort. Comprehend will gain you skill points. Leo finally asks, so you said that I can pretty much do things between the virtual world and the real world. Does that mean that whatever I can comprehend or break down even in the virtual world, that I will be able to take it to the real world, and vice versa? Leela responds, yes, that's exactly what I mean. No matter what it is, whatever you gain will go with you everywhere. Leo shouts excitedly. Holy Leela interrupts him abruptly, stating, shut your mouth. She giggles and says exaggerately, you better watch it now. Both chuckle. Now, as far as the all-out store that will be available to you after level 10, says Leela, and that in itself will open a whole new world for you. Leo then asked. So as far as comprehension, will that gain me? Leela responds. Yes, comprehension will definitely assist you with gaining skill points where you can place wherever you need to, but it will also increase your intelligence attributes the more you comprehend. Leo then asked, At some point, will I be able to comprehend magic? Leela responds, Of course. Leo then asked, And will I? But before he gets to finish, Layla says, Yes, you will be able to bring it to the real world, and then giggles. Then Leela says, Two other things. I definitely must inform you first that this space that we're in right now is your personal space to do whatever you want and be able to use for practice or anything that you need. And you are even able to develop the space to look as if it was your own world. And the second thing I must inform you of is that I will also be able to assist you in the tutorial portion of the virtual world when it comes to your game. Leo laughs excitedly and says, All right, I am definitely ready for all of this. Leela giggles and says, The thing about your tutorial is it is just a little different from what everybody else's would be when playing the game, but you will get a better understanding of what I mean once we go there. Leo gives a confused look and, with a little hesitation in his voice, says, A little different. What do you mean by that? Leela responds with a smirk. You will see once we enter Immortal Instinct and go to the world of Sachiran. Leela tells Leo, Close your eyes so that we can transport to the game. Leo closes his eyes, and once he does, he feels that he is floating into an empty space. He starts feeling a tingling sensation throughout his body and a quick jolt. Once the sensation leaves him, he quickly opens his eyes. Leela says in his head, Welcome to the virtual game Immortal Instinct. Leo looks around and sees nothing but empty darkness, as if he was in a complete and utter black void. He asks out loud in a panicky voice, I thought we were supposed to be in a virtual game. Why am I just in a dark space? Why do I feel like I'm in total nothingness? Leela responded, Leo, please calm down. We're just in a character creation area where everyone starts to configure their character. Leo sighs in relief at the thought of feeling some excitement of potentially getting to design his very own character. But before he gets to ask the next question, Leela says to him, But in your case, you will not get to create a character, because you will be known as your very own species. Leo, startled, and Mumble says, What do you mean I will be my own species? Leela replies, In the game of Immortal Instinct, there are 4 different types of species. You have the Beast Man, the Elementals, the Monstarians, and the Weaponeers. Now to explain to you, each one of these species has its own subspecies categories within them, such as, with the Beast Man, you have your subclass of Dragonkind, Rabbitkin, Ape-Men, and so forth. Leo looks out into the void with surprised shock upon his face. Leela continues, With the Elementans, you have your subclass of Sprites, Rockmen, Snow People, Aquarians, and more. Leo cocks his head to the side with a blank expression, trying to picture just a few of the subspecies. Leela continues, You have the Monstarians with their subclasses of humanoid golems, succubi and incubus, sirens, humanoid chimera, and of course, some other types. And last but not least, there are the Weaponeers. Their subclass consists of the Tarkin, which are blade people, the Gunners, which are people with heavy weaponry, bodies involving firepower. There are the Siberians, which are cybernetic men with different weaponry such as bombs, and other weaponry. Of course, other types of weapon-based people. Leo gasps in astonishment and says, That is crazy! Leela responds, Then you have the planet's biggest enemy, and that is the demon beasts, which consist of all kinds of different type beasts, demonic creations, and other style rejects. Leo says, Leela, you mentioned that I am my own species. So in this virtual world, what am I? She responds, Leo, you are you. Because of the fact that you have the system, you will be able to incorporate everyone's ability, as well as being able to utilize different weaponry and so forth. Leo yells excitedly, Now that's what I'm talking about. Leela then says, So now that I have explained that much, let me give you a little more in-depth explanation about how you can level up. Defeating demonic beasts, fighting and entering different tournaments, different events, and even doing everyday manual labor can actually get you to earn attribute points, which will get you to the point of leveling up. Now, in the virtual world, you can also run into missions, side missions, special missions, special requests, and even mythical quests. You can gain special materials with defeating different beasts. But understand, not every beast drops any type of loot. So you can pretty much gain experience points through the previously mentioned actions, and no matter how much experience points you gain, you will be able to utilize whatever points to help advance levels much quicker. So to be able to upgrade your levels in a faster rate, as well as make sure that you can pretty much become almost like a god. Leo stutters in response, almost like a god. Leela responds to everyone in and out of the real world, which meaning the virtual world you will be, as if you are a god. But when it comes to further advancement, you will learn a lot more in the future by exactly what I mean. Leo sighs and then he responds, okay, so basically they go one of those moments where my level isn't high enough. He chuckles a little. She continues, you will also be given a permanent weapon to keep on your person in both the real world and the virtual world. Leo pumps his fist. When it comes to selecting your weapon, you have a massive variety that you will choose from, and it will be known pretty much as your life weapon, said Layla. Leo responds, my life weapon. Leela responds, yes, your life weapon. That means as you grow, it grows, and it can never be destroyed. You would never have to have it repaired, and on top of that, you can even channel different abilities through it, incorporating whatever skills you learn. Leo, startled with his lips quivering, struggles to get the next few words out of his mouth, saying, now that is the most awesome thing I've ever heard in my entire life. I'm getting goosebumps just thinking all of the things I will be able to do with it, as well as growing with it. Leela then says, look through all of these weapons and choose one. A plethora of weapons appear from nowhere, directly in front of Leo. Swords, axes, sais, bow staffs, nunchucks, daggers, spears, gauntlets, and in the very back of the many rows of weapons stood a single chainsicle. As Leo looked through the many weapons, he picks up a few, giving it a test swing, seeing how it feels within his grasp. Each time he picks up a weapon, he looks at it admiringly, but feels no connection. He picked up a few swords, tried out a few axes, swung around a few different sais, a mace, grabbed a hold of the double-blade ring daggers and tried them, and even picked up and swung around the nunchucks, saying, in a poor imitation of one of his favorite martial arts masters. Bruce Lee, nobody could handle the dragon. Moving his mouth very exaggeratedly, trying to make his mouth not sync with the words that he said. Then he picks up the chainsicle. He looks at it and feels that he has a full-out connection to it, making him feel as if there was a soul resonance to the weapon connecting within him. He says to himself excitedly, oh man, that right there makes me feel as if I could be like my favorite game character of all time, Scorpion from Mortal Kombat. He takes the chainsicle and swings it around to test it out, feeling as if it was an extension of himself, saying to himself, hey, maybe I can actually make this weapon merge with myself. And without a second thought, as he was holding the chainsicle, he says, break down. A system prompt appears in his head. Would you like to confirm the breakdown of this item? Leo, startled at first, responds, yes, then watched as the chainsicle disappears. A few moments later, Leela says, Leo, your merge is complete. You've officially merged with your permanent life weapon and have created and gained a new ability. Leo cried out in excitement, holy! But before he could finish, Leela cut him off by saying, shut your mouth. I told you I'll try to say that. She giggles and says in a playful way, the prompt quickly explains, you have gained the ability of Soulbind. Soulbind is where you are able to use your life weapon, not only to bind one's person, but you are also able to bind and manipulate one's soul. Also, because of the fact that you have merged with your life weapon, you are able to make the weapon appear through your hands and feet, utilizing it in any way that suits you as much as possible. Leo pumps his fist as if he was in a 90s hip-hop club, chanting, whoop, 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 there it is! I got me something to get in your biz. Then he said, hey, wait, does that mean I can also use it like a web so that I can swing on it as if I was like Spider-Man? Leela in her very sweet girl. Next door voice burst into laughter, saying, if you want to look at it that way, you sure can. Leo dances and celebrates, Leela then says in a much more serious tone, "Okay, Leo, are you ready to finish the tutorial?" She said in Leo's mind, "Yes, I'm ready." Leela then triggers the confirmation of creation screen being completed, and everything flashes white. A moment later, a bright, dazzling sky appears with the purest white clouds, a lot of green fields, and lush forest directly in front of Leo. Leela's voice says in an announcing style voice, "Welcome to Saturn." Leo's
So that's all for the stories for right now. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. We'll see you for the next few chapters.